Embarking on your watercolor journey as a beginner can be both exciting and a little intimidating. That blank paper may feel like a daunting challenge at first. But fear not, in this video, I will share 4 quick exercises that can help elevate your art. You will discover how to overcome the intimidation, ease into your creative flow, and create mesmerizing artwork without feeling overwhelmed. Hi everyone, I'm Joyce Lita, a watercolor artist and an art educator, and the tips I will be sharing with you today have guided me through my own artistic journey and have helped me overcome those initial hurdles, especially when getting back to painting after a long break. The first step before diving into a painting is to get to know your supplies well so that you can understand how they work. You don't need a lot of supplies to begin your watercolor journey. You can begin with the primary colors, 2 round brushes, one of a bigger size to cover larger areas and one of a smaller size for the details, and a 300 GSM watercolor paper, preferably 100% cotton. I have cut an A4 size paper into 4 pieces for the 4 exercises, and it's fine if they are not of the same size. If you do not want to cut the paper, you can also divide them into 4 sections with a line or a masking tape. The first exercise is preparing a value scale, and for this, you will need just one brush, one pigment, and one of the pieces of the paper. I'm using masking tape to hold the paper in place. I'm using Prussian blue and a round brush size 8 for this exercise, but you can use any color and brush you like. We will be adding the pigment to our palette and mixing it with varying quantities of water to see the diverse values that can be created with just one pigment. I'm adding very little water so that the paint consistency is thick, and I will apply a stroke of this pigment on the paper to see the darkest value it can create. Now I will add a few drops of water to see the next value that can be created. I'm using a dropper to add the water, but you can also use the same brush or another brush for this process. The only disadvantage of using the same brush is that you may lose some pigment when you dip your brush in water. Now when I apply the stroke, you can see the slight change in the color. I will repeat the process a few times, adding a few drops of water each time between 2 strokes to lighten the value of the pigment. You can see the wide range of values that can be created with just one pigment. If I add more water, I will get an even lighter shade of blue. This exercise is very helpful in understanding the various values one pigment can create, which will come handy while painting your artwork. If you'd like to, you can repeat this process with the other pigments you have. Since brush control is another important aspect of watercolor, in this exercise, we will hold a brush in different angles and with varying pressures and see the strokes that can be created. I'm loading my brush with pigment and holding it upright with minimum pressure and applying strokes using only the tip. I will try various strokes that I can paint in this brush position. I'm loading my brush again, and this time too I will keep the brush upright but use the belly of the brush to apply a stroke. I'm trying different strokes I can create in this position of the brush. I'm now going to hold the brush at a different angle and try the strokes that can be created. I'm painting the stroke holding the brush at an angle and with slight pressure. The line is thicker than the one formed with just the tip, but thinner than the one created with the belly. We can also use varying pressures in the same stroke. We will start with light pressure holding the brush upright and slowly increase the pressure using the belly of the brush, and again reduce the pressure and slowly raise the brush. You can use the stroke to paint leaves of different thickness. This exercise helps you understand the various strokes in different thickness that can be painted with a brush and the pressure you need to apply to achieve them. It also helps you understand the spring and water holding capacity of a brush. Let's move on to the next exercise. In the third exercise, we will mix 2 pigments in 3 ways. You can use any 2 pigments of your choice. I'm using quinacridone rose and ultramarine blue. I'm going to apply a stroke of a watery mixture of this pigment created using very little pigment and a lot of water. While this is drying, I'm taking some more pigment and applying another stroke. I cleaned my brush and added some water to the blue pigment, and leaving some gap, I'm applying strokes going upward. I will wash my brush and pull the pink pigment which is still wet downward so that I can mix the two pigments on the paper. You can see the beautiful purple pigment that has formed in the center by mixing these two colors. I can also mix these two pigments on the palette to get a beautiful purple color and then apply it on the paper. I'm going to clean my palette and make a watery mixture of ultramarine blue and glaze it over the first stroke we had painted as it has dried now. You can see the slight purplish tint where these two colors are overlapping. Since most watercolors are transparent, you will be able to see the color produced by the mixing of the underlying color with the one applied above it. If the color you applied on top is opaque, you will not be able to see the mixture of the colors. Since the previous color applied was dry, this is the result we achieved. If it was wet, you would have seen this instead. This wasn't something I had planned, but that's the best part about watercolor. The unexpected and beautiful surprises you encounter while painting. This exercise is helpful in understanding the pigment properties of a particular pigment, the different colors that can be achieved with a limited palette, which colors when mixed together form muddy colors, and which form beautiful shades. If the same pigments are mixed in different quantities, for example 25% of one pigment and 75% of another, the colors you will obtain will be totally different. We will now move on to the last exercise. For this fourth exercise, we will be painting a small, quick and easy mountainscape. Since I will be using a lot of water, I am using masking tape on all four sides to reduce the buckling of the paper. I am using bright clear violet to make this mini painting. You can use any color of your choice. Take a little pigment and add a lot of water to it. I am now going to paint the first mountain with this watery pigment. I made a border of the edge of the mountain and I am now filling it with paint. I will wait for this to completely dry before painting the next layer. To the watery mixture, I am adding some more pigment to make it darker and then painting the next mountain once the previous layer has completely dried. You need to paint this mountain in such a way that a part of the previous mountain can be seen. I am going to repeat this process a few more times, using a little more pigment each time so that the mountain closest to us is the darkest. You can swatch your pigment on a scrap paper to check if that's the pigment you desire before applying it to your painting. If you would like a detailed tutorial of painting this mountainscape, I have added the link in the description. I've also linked the video here. You can see the three different values of the same pigment. This process is similar to the value scale we had painted in the first exercise. Once the paper completely dries, you can remove the masking tape slowly. This exercise helps you understand the drying time of the paper and how many washes it can take. Making a tiny painting also helps you get warmed up and face the fear of a blank paper. These four exercises are a great way to begin without any pressure of the end result and also help you get acquainted with your new art supplies. They are my go-to exercises whenever I return to painting after a long break or feel overwhelmed by the thought of creating an entire painting. Moreover, I find them incredibly helpful when I get new art supplies as they allow me to better understand how to use them to my best advantage. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this video inspires you to begin your watercolor journey with enthusiasm. If you enjoyed watching this video and found these tips helpful, don't forget to like and comment which tip you like the best. For more exciting watercolor tutorials and useful tips, consider subscribing to my channel. Let's embark on this artistic journey together.